Well, authorities say they're close to eradicating Boko Haram. Defense ministers from the Lake Chad Basin and the government of Benin have adopted a new strategy to curb the insurgency. Here's more on that from CGTN's Deji Badmus.
When the Lake Chad Basin countries came together to form the 8,700-strong multinational joint task force in 2015 to take on Boko Haram, many had thought the days of the terrorist group were numbered. But 2 years on, Boko Haram, though significantly weakened, continues to carry out a campaign of terror in the region. Nigeria, Cameroon, Niger and Chad have all been bearing the brunt of its suicide bombing campaign. Funding and logistics challenges have slowed down the multinational joint task force. Security expert Onai Komo says it's good to hear the defense chiefs of the region now say they have a new plan to banish the ghost of Boko Haram in the region.
We hope that the plan is credible, that the plan is solid, and the plan will be well resourced in order to combat this security threat of our times.
Once very mistrusting of one another, the Lake Chad Basin countries have now put their primordial sentiments aside to work together in confronting a common enemy in Boko Haram. Troops now carry out cross-border operations, but experts say much more still needs to be done.
Once funding is there, and they are also, like I said, adopt the right kind of intelligence in confronting these menace, then I think it's possible that they can actually do something about eradicating it. But I think it is not going to be in the short term. It's still going to take a bit longer than they are saying.
To bring this war to an end, there is an element that is missing sorely, and we've been very much in short supply of it throughout the conflict so far, since 2009 up to date. That is intelligence. That intelligence component has been missing, particularly human intelligence.
For now, the defense ministers of the Lake Chad Basin countries and the Republic of Benin are still keeping their new plan close to their chest. But analysts say the ultimate solution to the Boko Haram crisis in a region rife with rampant poverty and poor governance is by far beyond the military one.
The reality is that weak governments breed, terrorism and all kinds of negative social activities in a country. And so we need to begin to look at the issue of governance, the issue of, providing the kind of economy that would take care of the greatest needs of the people.
Everyone is still waiting for the unveiling of this new plan, but Boko Haram is not waiting at all. It continues to carry out suicide bombings across the region, with Nigeria and Cameroon worst hit in recent times. Deji, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
Well, let's go live now to Lagos, where CGTN's Deji Badmus is standing by with more on these latest developments. Deji, in just a matter of 2 days, we've seen attacks in both Nigeria and more recently Cameroon. How are these strikes being viewed in the region, considering the ongoing efforts to crush Boko Haram?
Well, it's been viewed as very disturbing indeed, because in Nigeria alone we've had so many strikes. In Cameroon, for instance, the strike that happened yesterday, that's the suicide bombing that actually happened yesterday, would be the 19th this year alone. So quite disturbing indeed, and people are really concerned that it appears, the regional efforts that the Lake Chad Basin countries, including the Republic of Benin, put together before now. I'm talking about the multinational joint task force. It appears, even though that body, the MNJTF now has succeeded in weakening Boko Haram, but it appears military solution alone, as we're beginning to see, will definitely not win this war. And it's quite instructive that the man who just left, the former head now of the MNJTF, who just handed over to a new commander now, did say that it appears the war against Boko Haram may not be won just militarily, and that other solutions may need to be fashioned out. I mean, other strategies now may need to be fashioned out to deal with the situation. But to be candid, people are really worried. It's a very disturbing thing in Cameroon, even though most of the attacks are happening in the far north of the country, and in Nigeria too, it's quite disturbing, even though it's also happening in the northeast of the country as well.
And as you say, Deji, this fight might not be won militarily alone. And of course, we're hearing that the ministers from the Lake Chad Basin, as well as the government of Benin now, are talking about a new regional strategy. How does it differ from what we've seen before?
Well, the problem with the new strategy is that nobody knows what the strategy is. So, you know, at best, what we've had, you know, what people have just been doing is basically to guess what that new strategy would be. Maybe for security reasons, the defense ministers of the Lake Chad Basin countries are still not disclosing what that strategy is, but they are pretty confident that the strategy will eradicate Boko Haram completely in the Lake Chad, especially that Lake Chad area. But, you know, talking with experts now, and from my knowledge of that area too, there's no doubt at all that what will be required to actually check the activities of Boko Haram, especially around the Lake Chad area, I mean, where you have these countries now bordering themselves, will definitely go beyond the military solution. The fact is that the economy, the people of that area before now were completely forgotten. There was basically no economy. The only economy that thrived in that region was the economy of crime, gun running and all of that, even though quite a number of the people there were into fishing. So no government presence at all. That will need to change. That will need to change. And the hope is that this new strategy that this defense ministers of the Lake Chad Basin countries are talking about will be about, you know, actually providing good governance in that area, improving the economy of the people in that area, and actually showing them that the government actually exists. I mean, in the case of Cameroon, Cameroon needs to do something about its far north to improve the lives of the people there. Same thing with Nigeria in the northeast of the country. Same goes with Niger and Chad. So, but for now, we do not know what the strategy is. Maybe with time, the leaders of the Lake Chad Basin countries will unveil that strategy. But of course, we all know that the MNJTF, though has tried, but has not been able to check, of course, as we can see, this spate of suicide bombings that Boko Haram has now been carrying out.
Indeed.
Lindy?
Thank you so much for that update. Deji Badmus joining us live there from Lagos.